Hey guys, welcome to another episode of the High Ticket Coaching and Consultant Strategy and Growth Show. Now, my name is Extus, and if you were listening to this interview anywhere else but within our private Facebook community called the High Ticket Client Attraction Insider Circle, definitely come check us out. We definitely love to have you. Over the past couple of days, we've recently grown up to about 7,000 members in there. So if you're a coach, consultant, or service provider and you're not already a member, definitely come check us out. Now today, I want to introduce you to another one of the members of our community, Kit. Welcome, Kit.
Thank you very much, Extus. It's good to see you today.
Awesome. Same here. Love it. So, Kit, tell myself, the rest of the community, what do you do?
Well, I am a transformation coach, and I understand there are a lot of people who use that title. What I focus on is working with ADD entrepreneurs so I can guide them to transform their fears into action, and action helps move us on, and that's where our freedom comes, is being able to take action. So in a nutshell, that's what I do.
Yeah.
Of course, it's much more complicated involved than that. But
Okay, good. Now, what's your backstory before you got into this line of work? What did you do?
I have done so many things, Extus. Do you want the whole list? Or you want just the recent 5 or 10 years?
Okay, so
I actually have a really interesting, diverse background, which allows me to coach people better.
Okay, so let's just give a brief overview of this background. I would love to hear.
All right. I have a degree in environmental conservation. I worked as a computer programmer. I've been a bed and breakfast innkeeper, a bed and breakfast innkeeping consultant and realtor, and teacher. I have been a blogger and a coach for many years. And with the innkeepers, I was coaching as well. So that's where I get my entrepreneurial background to apply to everybody, especially ADDers. I discovered a few years ago that my husband has ADD, which turns out it was a huge source of friction between us. So as I learned about his ADD and how to be a partner to him, I realized I had ADD. In learning how to deal with both of our situations, I realized that entrepreneur and ADD are kind of synonyms, and that just helped me connect with the ADD entrepreneurial community more intimately. So there's the nutshell of what I do.
Yeah, awesome.
Or what my background is.
Yeah. And how did you, well, I guess, was it a planned journey for you to get to a point where you said, I'm going to now work with entrepreneurs who do have ADD?
No, it was only because I discovered my husband's in my ADD, did I realize, well, with my training and experience as a coach, if I struggled with staying focused and productive and confident, think about all the entrepreneurs who don't have my training and how they really struggle. And that's when I decided to turn my attention on them and learn more and more about ADD. So once I started on the ADD path, then it became a focused, intentional direction. And that has made a huge difference to my career and foundation as a coach, is that focus and intention.
Love it. And how did you, well, I guess, what does working with you look like?
Ask again?
What does working with you look like? How do you work with your clients?
I have a variety of avenues. First of all, I'm a very sassy, playful person. So I sometimes am cajoling my clients into understanding their issues. And that doesn't work for everybody. So I do coaching sessions one-on-one or in group. I just finished a group coaching session a week or two ago. I just started doing coaching retreats when COVID hit, and that was an intimate, intense coaching series where for 8 days, up to 8 people and I would sit and work through the various issues of being high performance, transforming our fears. But I also walked the Camino de Santiago just over 2 years ago, and realized that when you walk 500 miles, you transform. And so once COVID allows me to leave the United States, I will take people on Caminos as part of the coaching transformation process. So you can see I've got kind of an array of things to do to work with people.
Mm-hmm. Whoa, I just heard something about 500 miles. Is that what I heard?
You heard that correctly. So the Camino de Santiago, there are about a dozen ways to get to Santiago, Spain. And I've walked 2 of them actually now, but the longer of the 2 goes from the French Pyrenees across northern Spain into the city of Santiago, which is in northwest Spain. And you go over 3 mountain ranges and across the Meseta, which are the high plains. 500 miles, my walking partner and I did it in 35 days. But there are some tough people who do it in 28 days. Some people who take their time and really experience it and will do 40 to 50 days. But 35 was a good pace. Mm-hmm. And 500 miles makes your feet tired.
I can imagine. Goodness, I had no idea you were up to such things back there.
I do a wide range of things, yeah. And I did the Portuguese Camino last fall, and that was a short 150-mile walk from Porto, Portugal, up to Santiago. Mm-hmm. Going straight north, I changed time zones, which boggled my mind. I'm used to time zones changing east to west, right, not north to south.
Yeah.
So every opportunity to learn is a good one to take.
Yeah. So what inspired you to walk those 500 miles?
Initially, it was an invitation from a friend of mine, a woman I've known since first grade. She had wanted to walk this with her husband. Her husband had wanted to walk it. He died before he had a chance to do the whole thing. They had done the last 100 kilometers. So she decided about 2 years after his death, she would like to walk it kind of for him and in memory of him. Mm-hmm. 2 days before our trip, she had a chance to become a foster mother, so she backed out. So I regrouped a little bit, and a friend of my sister-in-law said, "Hey, well, I'm going too, so let's go together." Mm-hmm. So I regrouped and went with her then. And I had no idea, Extus, how I was going to change. I just knew I would. And I still can't tell you the words of how I changed. But I know that I was transformed by that experience.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. What about training wise? Is that something you prepared for, or was it just kind of like, hey, it's in about a month. How did you get ready for this?
I chose to prepare a lot. So I actually had 2.5 years ultimately to prepare. Uh-huh. I live in the mountains, so I took long walks. I would put my backpack on, and I carried about an 18-pound pack. And so I would train by walking 12 miles with that, knowing that my typical day on the Camino would be about 15 to 18 miles. So I thought 12 miles is good. But I walked every day, sometimes really fast and sometimes just a nice stroll. If I was with my husband, it was a nice stroll. If I was with my hiking girlfriend, we would walk real fast. So I shook it up, uphill, downhill, cross. I figured out how to carry a light pack. And the only reason my pack was 18 pounds is because I decided to take my vitamins and a few things like that with me. Supplies that went down as the walk went along. Mm-hmm. So at the end of the walk, I was probably carrying 15 pounds. Mm-hmm. But they say don't carry more than 10% of your body weight. I thought, what can you take with you in 12 pounds? I want to have more than the clothes on my body. Yes. So I thought, and when you backpack, you can carry up to 40 pounds. I did that with no trouble. Mm-hmm. So yeah, that's how I trained.
Yeah, that's some exciting stuff.
But even with that training, when you walk day after day, it's hard on your body. Mm-hmm. And so the first week I really struggled. By the second week, I was adapting to that day in and day out walking. And you sleep in sometimes room with 100 other people, just bunk beds lined up. So some people snore, some people talk, some people leave the light on. So you just have a lot of adjusting to do, but that's part of the transformation.
Mm-hmm.
And it's that kind of openness to experiences that I bring to my coaching to help people learn to adjust to their ADD, actually to embrace their ADD, and to embrace the fears and learn to transform them into that action. But by the third week of the Camino, it's like a stroll in the park, just walking along.
Yeah, just became a piece of cake.
Exactly.
Yes. I'm sure if I was there with you on that third week, I'd be like, kid, wait up. And you're like, what are you talking about? This is like a stroll. Like, what's going on?
Yes, you would have. You have to be with me the whole time to get the full. You break yourself. You train yourself. We rise to the demands we put on ourselves,
Mm-hmm.
be it in life or walking the Camino.
Right.
So, the Camino is an extreme example of rising to your expectations and needs. But every day, I hope people push themselves, raise their bar just even a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
And step into, more challenging, fulfilling life.
Yeah. And that's a beautiful thing about life, the universe, everything, right? Everything is like expanding. And it's almost like watching a tree outside. When a tree starts growing, it's not going to say, well, I'm not going to get this big. I'm not going to push myself. I'm not going to get as big as I want, as I should get, right? But human beings, we're the only type of people or type of creatures, I guess, who kind of like put these limits, beings who put these limits on ourselves to where we don't grow to our full potential, right?
Exactly. And all of us, you and me included, we all need coaches to push us. I mean, unless we have a good friend we trust who can push us emotionally and mentally, emotionally, physically, spiritually, just always, we can challenge ourselves. But let's be that oak tree and grow into our full beauty and magnificence.
Mm-hmm. Love it. Yeah. So tell me, what do you have coming up? What are you currently working on at the moment?
I am working on, I'm becoming a speaker using storytelling for my teaching style. And I'll be speaking in a virtual event Thanksgiving weekend. So I'm working on developing that talk. And along with that, I'm developing a course on transforming fear into action. And I'm hoping to release that in 2 to 3 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
And that will be it'll kind of be a live coaching call, 6 weeks long, and I'll educate a little bit through 5 minutes of lecture, and then start conversations like you're doing and ask people, well, how would you handle this situation? What's your biggest fear? Let's dig into that. How could you change your thinking around that? So the whole 6 weeks will be like the conversation you and I are having.
Yeah, awesome. Sounds lovely, lovely. Now, what about so if you had to like sum up where you are in your life today, all the experience, everything you've been through, if you had to sum it up into all one sentence, is that possible? And if it is possible, what would that one sentence be?
I think the last sentence of my personal story may be a good summation. And it's a summation of my Camino, which is, it took me a while to realize my accomplishment of walking those 500 miles, but the summation is, I dealt with the challenges and the fears, and I brought joy to the adventure. Having fun and being joyful is a lot of what I'm about, which is why I tease people so much during my coaching. Because I want to add to their joy, but facing the challenges, overcoming them, and being joyful throughout the process probably summarizes my life, my attitude, my coaching style.
Yeah. And that is so true. Just bringing joy to what it is that we do, because I believe there's so many individuals out there who they're on their journey and they're waiting for that time to be happy. They're waiting for this moment of life to be over so they could then do this and I'll be happy or be this person or get this thing. Versus if we could come from a place of realizing that that's just what life is, right? It's a series of ups, downs, happiness, frustration, all these different things, but enjoying the
Straight way.
process, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Mhm.
Can I give you an example of turning fear into action? One that I'm just living through right this minute.
Sure, I'd love that. What is it?
I live in Western Colorado and we're in a severe drought. It hasn't really rained here in 3 years. And there are some pretty big forest fires around us, and I live in a forest. It's a short forest, but it's still a forest.
Hmm.
And if a fire starts in my forest, I could lose my house. And my office is in a yurt, which is why it kind of looks a little different from any other background you've seen. And it's not fire resistant. And I was getting increasingly anxious and scared. And I thought, okay, I need to move all of my office things into the house, which is fire resistant. And my husband said, well, why don't we just mitigate the land around the yurt? So for 3 days, I was cutting trees and cutting shrubs, and I have a young man out in the yard right now doing that. And every layer of tree and shrub that I removed, kind of like the onion, so I have more and more space between the vegetation and me, the calmer I have felt. So I turned my fear of fire into action, and the fire is going to make a difference, but I'm not afraid anymore. I took action.
Hmm. Yeah.
So I hope that makes sense.
It makes perfect sense. It makes perfect sense as well too. I think the biggest thing, what you just pointed out here today, is when it comes to fear, there's a couple of things we could do. We could either just sit and just wallow in it and just complain, do all these different things, or we could get out there and take some action, do something. And it seems like based
Yeah,
on your taking that action, that's where the relief came from, right?
exactly. Yeah, I call being in fear hiding at the back of the cave. I mean, you can't even look out of the cave when you're afraid. And once you get that fear somewhat managed, you can at least stand at the or the cave and look around and go, I think I could step outside this and live.
Mm-hmm. Love
So
it.
yes,
Yeah.
you
Awesome.
translated my story well.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. Thank you. Okay, so what about that ideal person for you? How do they know that they would be in need of your services? Where are they typically out on their journey?
Um, they are going to be in a variety of places, Extus.
Mm,
There are going to be employers, CEOs, that end of business who realizes they're hiring too slowly and they're hiring too fast and firing too slowly. Those both are fear-based.
mm-hmm,
There are the people who are afraid to make decisions, they're afraid to take action. They know that they need help when they face obstacles and don't figure out how to get over them, around them, through them, who have so much chaos in their life, they're overwhelmed. All of those are examples of being afraid and needing help.
mm-hmm. Awesome, love it. And if someone wanted to connect and find out more, what's the best way for them to be able to do so?
My website is liveinfocusedenergy.com, and I have a contact page. They can look at my blog and read about my coaching, but there's a contact form there. They can reach out to me.
Mm-hmm. Perfect.
I'm on LinkedIn and Facebook and Instagram and Twitter as well. But
Yeah, awesome. And guys, if you're watching this interview on the live or the replay, the links Kit just mentioned, they will either be above or below the video. So you can click and get connected right to her. Well, Kit, hey, I learned so much about you today. It's pretty awesome. I love it. Now, do you have any final thoughts before we end?
overcome your fear. Life is so much more colorful and beautiful and joyous when you can manage that fear. Fear is natural. It's an indication you need to take action. Either run from the car or the bear or the lion, or change your thinking to change the reaction to that emotion. Fear is an emotion. So accept it and take action and move past it, because fear is saying, act now. So choose the action. Run for your life or change your thinking.
Yeah.
How's that?
Perfect. Love it. Love it. Awesome, kids. Well, hey, thank you again for making the time to be here. Really appreciate it. And we'll talk
Thank
soon.
you for
Okay?
your time.
Awesome. Love it.
Thank you so much, Extus.
Enjoy. All right. Bye.